Kill that weak version of yourself. Let me be clear about something right from the start. The enemy is not out there. It's not your parents. It's not your past. It's not the system, the economy, or your bad luck. The enemy is the weak version of you that keeps negotiating with comfort. That version of you loves excuses. That version of you waits for motivation. That version of you says, I'll start tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes. Here's the truth most people avoid. You already know what you need to do. You just don't want to feel the pain of doing it. And that's the problem, because growth has a price, discipline has a price, becoming dangerous in the best possible way has a price, and the currency is discomfort. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you fall to the level of your habits. So if your habits are weak, your life will be weak. No matter how big your goals sound when you talk about them, stop asking, how do I feel today? Start asking, what does the person I want to become do today? Because winners don't wait to feel ready, they act, and let confidence catch up later. Let me tell you something powerful. You are not broken, you are not incapable, you are just undisciplined in moments that matter, and discipline isn't punishment. Discipline is self-respect in action. Every time you do the hard thing when no one is watching, you send a message to yourself, I can be trusted. That's how you build real confidence, not hype, not affirmations, evidence. The weak version of you wants comfort. The stronger version of you wants progress. You can't have both. So kill the weak version, not with hate, but with consistency, not overnight, but daily, not with motivation, but with identity. Decide who you are, decide what you stand for, and then prove it with action, again and again and again, because one day, if you don't kill that weak version of yourself, it will kill your potential, and that's a tragedy you don't get a second chance to fix. Now go do the work. No excuses, no delay, become undeniable. Stop blaming circumstances, because the moment you do, you hand over your power. Every excuse you make is a quiet agreement to stay exactly where you are. Radical ownership begins when you realize that no one is coming to save you, fix you, or hand you the life you want. Your background, your failures, your environment, none of them get the final vote. You do. The truth is uncomfortable, but it's also freeing. If your life isn't where you want it to be, that means you have the ability to change it. Taking full responsibility doesn't mean pretending life is fair. It means deciding that fairness is irrelevant. Some people start 10 steps ahead, some start 10 steps behind, but staying stuck because of that comparison only keeps you trapped. Radical ownership says, this is my starting point and I will build from here. No more waiting for better conditions, more support, or perfect timing. Progress starts the second you stop outsourcing blame and start owning outcomes. When you accept responsibility for who you are today, you also accept responsibility for who you are becoming. That's where real transformation begins. You stop asking why this happened to you and start asking what you're going to do about it. You stop explaining your behavior and start correcting it. You recognize that every habit you repeat is a vote for the person you will be in the future. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, honesty over excuses, action over avoidance, you are shaping your identity. Radical ownership forces you to look in the mirror without flinching. It strips away the stories you tell yourself to feel better and replaces them with standards that make you better. You don't get to hide behind potential anymore. You don't get credit for intentions. Only execution counts. That level of accountability is heavy, but it's also empowering because it puts control back in your hands. When you fully own your choices, you stop being reactive and start being intentional. You stop living on autopilot and start designing your life. Your confidence grows not from hype, but from proof. Proof that you do what you say you will do, even when it's hard, even when no one is watching. That's how ordinary people become formidable. Not by luck or talent, but by the relentless decision to take responsibility for every action, every result, every setback, and every opportunity that comes their way. Knowing that growth begins the instant excuses end and ownership begins, motivation is unreliable because it depends on how you feel, and feelings change every single day. If you wait to feel inspired before taking action, you'll spend most of your life waiting. Identity is different. Identity is who you decide you are, regardless of mood, energy, or circumstances. When your actions are tied to identity, you don't ask whether you feel like doing the work. You do it because that's who you are. The moment you shift from trying to do something to deciding to be someone, everything changes. You stop saying, "I'm trying to get disciplined," and start saying, "I am disciplined." That shift may sound small, but it's massive. Your brain is wired to act in alignment with how you see yourself. If you identify as someone who quits when things get hard, you will find reasons to quit. If you identify as someone who finishes what they start, you will find ways to push through. Identity is built through repeated action, not positive thinking. Every small promise you keep to yourself reinforces the belief that you are capable. Every excuse you accept weakens it. This is why motivation fails so many people. It creates emotional highs without behavioral proof. Identity, on the other hand, is forged in boring, unglamorous moments when no one is cheering and nothing feels exciting. When your identity is strong, discipline becomes automatic. You don't negotiate with yourself. You don't debate whether to show up. You show up because that's what people like you do. Athletes train, leaders lead. Builders build. They don't wait for motivation. They operate from standards. Standards don't care how you feel. They care about what you do. The most powerful identities are chosen, not inherited. You don't have to accept the labels given to you by your past, your family, or your failures. You get to decide what kind of person you are becoming and then prove it through action. Each choice is a brick. Each habit is a vote. Over time, those votes compound into an unshakable self-image. When you live from identity instead of emotion, setbacks stop breaking you. Failure becomes feedback, not verdict. You don't spiral because your sense of self isn't tied to outcomes, but to effort and consistency. That's when confidence becomes real, not loud, not performative, but quiet and solid, built on the certainty that no matter what happens, you will act in alignment with who you have decided to be. Pain is not a signal that something is wrong. It's a signal that something is changing. Most people run from discomfort because they associate it with failure, but discomfort is actually the entry fee to growth. The moment you start doing something meaningful, resistance shows up. Your body wants safety. Your mind wants familiarity. Pain is what happens when you refuse to stay the same. Every level of improvement demands a new tolerance for discomfort. The pain of discipline is different from the pain of regret, but one of them is guaranteed. Avoiding discomfort doesn't remove pain from your life, it just postpones it and multiplies it later. When you learn to use pain as a tool, you stop asking how to make things easier and start asking how to make yourself stronger. Pain sharpens awareness. It exposes weaknesses you didn't want to face and habits you hoped you could keep. Instead of numbing it or distracting yourself, you learn to listen. You ask what this moment is trying to teach you. Fatigue teaches endurance, failure teaches adjustment, pressure teaches focus. When you treat pain as information, it becomes an advantage instead of a threat. The people who grow the fastest are not the most talented. They are the most willing to sit in discomfort without quitting. They understand that confidence is built on survived pain. Every hard rep, every awkward conversation, every lonely stretch of effort adds another layer of resilience. You don't become strong by avoiding struggle, you become strong by outlasting it. Using pain as a tool means choosing voluntary hardship over accidental suffering. You train when it's uncomfortable so life doesn't crush you when it's unforgiving. You push yourself in controlled environments so chaos doesn't overwhelm you. Later, over time, what once felt unbearable becomes familiar, then manageable, then empowering. When pain no longer scares you, excuses lose their power. You stop looking for escape routes and start looking for progress. Discomfort becomes a signpost, not a stop sign. You move toward it, knowing that on the other side is capacity you didn't know you had, discipline you didn't think you could build, and a version of yourself that exists only because you were willing to endure what others avoided. Inspiration feels powerful, but it's fleeting. It comes and goes without warning, and building a life around it is a losing strategy. What actually creates change is execution, showing up and doing the work whether you feel ready or not. Small actions repeated daily carry more weight than big intentions that never leave your head. Progress is rarely dramatic. It's quiet, methodical, and often boring. Consistency compounds in ways most people underestimate. One disciplined choice doesn't seem life-changing, but hundreds of them reshape your identity, your skills, and your standards. Execution builds momentum, and momentum makes the work easier over time. The hardest part is always beginning, when results are invisible and effort feels unrewarded. That's where most people quit, not because it's impossible, but because they expect immediate validation. Daily execution removes the need for motivation. You stop relying on emotion and start relying on systems. You decide in advance what needs to be done, and you do it. No debate required. This eliminates friction and excuses. You don't wait for the perfect moment because you understand that perfection is the enemy of progress. Done, repeated, and improved will always outperform planned but never executed. Inspiration creates spikes of effort. Execution creates a baseline of excellence. When you operate from a baseline, setbacks don't knock you off course because your habits carry you forward. You don't need to feel confident to act. Action creates confidence. Each completed task reinforces trust in yourself and strengthens your belief that you can follow through even when it's uncomfortable. The weak version of you is built on inconsistency, starting strong and fading out. Daily execution dismantles that version piece by piece. It replaces chaos with structure and intention with proof. Over time, what once required effort becomes automatic. Discipline turns into routine, and routine turns into identity. This is how real transformation happens, not through bursts of motivation, but through relentless, unglamorous follow-through. You show up when it's boring, when it's hard, and when no one is watching. That quiet commitment, repeated every day, becomes unstoppable momentum that separates those who dream from those who build. And that difference is made one executed day at a time.